Lab 1. Purification of benzoic acid by recrystallization. The purpose of this experiment is to learn about recrystallization, a common technique of purification of a solid compound. It is based on the difference between the solubilities of the compound and the impurities contained within it. There are two parts to this experiment: selection of the solvent for recrystallization and the actual recrystallization. Our experimenters, Teresa and Bibia, will guide you through all the steps. In the first part, we'll be testing water, ethanol, acetone, and petroleum ether and determine which one is suitable for recrystallization. An ideal solvent shall not dissolve the solid at room temperature, but will do so at elevated temperature, most commonly the boiling point of the solvent. Before conducting the room temperature solubility test, prepare a hot water bath by filling a 250 milliliter beaker with 100 milliliters of water. Add 3 to 4 boiling chips and place the beaker on a hot plate set to heating level 2. First, using a 10 milliliter graduated cylinder, measure out 2 milliliters of water into a test tube. With a marker, draw a line on the test tube at the edge of the water, label it as W. Use this line as a guide to mark the rest of the test tubes to approximately 2 milliliters for each. Fill the rest of the tubes up to the marker line with the remaining solvents. Mark the test tubes as PE, A, and E for petroleum ether, acetone, and ethanol correspondingly. Weigh out 100 milligrams of benzoic acid. Crush it on weighing paper with an Erlenmeyer flask. Add the resultant powder to the test tube. Repeat the procedure for the remaining 3 test tubes. Once you add the benzoic acid, shake all 4 test tubes and record which solvent has dissolved the solute. You will notice neither ethanol nor acetone are desirable solvents because they dissolve benzoic acid at room temperature. Place test tubes with petroleum ether and distilled water into the hot water bath. When the petroleum ether starts to boil, take it out of the bath and shake it to dissolve the solute. Since petroleum ether doesn't dissolve benzoic acid at boiling, it is a poor solvent choice. To make the hot water bath boil, increase the heating to level 5. Occasionally, shake the tube and boil until all the solute is dissolved. If needed, you may crush benzoic acid chunks with a glass rod to aid dissolution. You may also add up to 1 milliliter of hot water straight from the bath to the test tube if benzoic acid is still undissolved. Once dissolved, take the test tube from the hot water bath and place it in the ice water bath. Observe rapid formation of the crystals. To purify benzoic acid by recrystallization, place about 2 grams of crude benzoic acid in a 125 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask. Make sure you record the actual mass in your lab notebook. Add enough water to cover the solids, about 20 to 30 milliliters. Add a magnetic stirrer. Place the flask directly on the hot plate next to the hot water bath beaker. Turn the stirrer to level 1. If it hasn't fully dissolved at boiling, add more water until the solute is fully dissolved. It is a good idea to keep the hot water bath handy till the very end. Once everything is dissolved, turn the stirrer off. Be sure to remove your stir bar while the solution is still hot. Leave the flask on the hot plate to cool down slowly. It prevents the trapping of impurities. Once at room temperature, check by touching, place the flask in an ice bath and keep for 10 minutes. While waiting for product to form, you can prepare for the next step by setting up your filtration system: a Buchner funnel with pre-weighed filter paper, rubber adapter, and a filtration flask, as well as chilling 100 milliliters of water in an ice bath. Fix the filtration flask on a ring stand to prevent accidental flipovers. Turn the vacuum on, wet the filter paper with water, and start pouring the solution into the middle of the funnel. Also, Rinse the flask 3 times with chilled water while transferring the crystals to the Buchner funnel. You can use a metal spatula to scrape out the crystals. Leave the compound for 15 minutes to dry with the vacuum on. To get the mass of your product, subtract the mass of the filter paper obtained earlier from the total weight. To determine the purity, you must take its melting point. The tutorial is available in a supplementary video.